The Asics Novablast 5 versus the Nike Vomero 18. Which is the better everyday long run trainer? Let's compare and contrast and find out. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're subscribed watching the content. Thanks so much, love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs for both shoes somewhere up here where you can see them. And the reason we're doing this comparison is because we have two max stack foam cushion shoes with similar principles, which you guys will probably guess if you're watching this or you're new to the channel. Basically, the shoes are designed to be your everyday runners with a lot of cushion, a lot of stack to prevent any sort of damage and fatigue to your body while running on the road, primarily. But it's also good for other surfaces and things like that. But I'm of the case that both shoes have slightly different utilities when it comes to your placement of them in your daily training regimen. Now, we can always debate that in the comment section, but hear my case out before we get there. So let's start first with the Asics Novablast 5, right? This shoe holds some pretty easy specs. Of course, we've got it at 9 grams of weight in size 8.5 for me. This could vary depending on when and where you bought your shoe, who manufactured it, etc. We do have a 41.5 millimeter heel. We do have about a 35.5 millimeter forefoot, giving us about an 8 millimeter offset. So we have the high heel effect, but not too high. Just kind of keeps it in a nice stable range here. Big heel, of course, 41.5 millimeters is a lot. We do have the Fresh Foam Blast, or the FF Blast Max foam that Asics likes to use. And it is just one cushion, or one piece of foam just running the entire stack of the shoe. This has its pros and cons. We'll get into that a little bit later. Again, we got rubber reinforcing that foam on the bottom, and I've got some wear and tear in various places after, putting in about 250 miles in this shoe. So we'll talk about that shoe a little bit more in depth as to what's going on with that when we get there. In the upper, we do just have the Asics standard textile mesh upper that's kind of running the shoe. Pretty breathable, nice stuff. The main differences that we'll be talking about when we compare it to the Vomero 18 is that we have a gusseted pull tongue that's quite thin, and we have this pull tab which is designed to sort of keep the shoe, or I guess keep the tongue and the shoelaces running straight across your foot as you tie it. So just something interesting to keep in mind. Personally, I think this piece of textile is a little much, unnecessary, but it's there and we just kind of deal with it, right? And when we compare it to the Novablast 4, you kind of understand why. I have a video of that. I'll try to put it somewhere in the description. So that's what we got with the Novablast 5. When we get into the Vomero 18, this shoe has some wildly interesting specs as a max foam stack shoe. We do have a 46 millimeter heel, 36 millimeter forefoot, 10 millimeter offset. So we get that 10 millimeter stack height that we're accustomed to seeing from some, not all, but a lot of Nike daily trainers when it comes to daily training. Other things to note, we do have two different stacks of foam on the shoe. We have the ZoomX compound running the top, and then we have this ReactX compound running the bottom. They are separated in the top and the bottom. You can see which sides they're labeled. So despite this saying ZoomX, the bottom foam is not the ZoomX, it's the top stack. It's just, that's just something Nike has done with things like the Pegasus Turbo series shoes, and also I think the Vomero 16 when I had it as well. And then again, same kind of principles here. We have rubber protecting the ReactX compound, but we do have exposed ReactX in the arch area of the shoe. And then running from the top here, we got just standard textile mesh running the entire duration of the shoe. We have a nice comfortable lip and cap for the shoe. We don't have a gusseted tongue. We have a cushioned plush tongue running the entire shoe. And the tying of the shoe with the shoelace pattern and these fly wires running the duration of the shoe is something I'm not a big fan of. And the eyelids compared to the shoelace type, also not a fan of. There's just big shoelaces for these tiny holes, and as a result, locking this thing down is sort of scary, and I just have some issues with it overall. So, when we get to comparing both shoes, where do they stand, and how do we kind of remediate some of our thoughts on this? So, when I bought the Vomero 18, it was to be this easy run, long run style shoe, to be consistent and keep the same effort during that long run workout. Whereas in the Novablast 5, I just really needed an easy run, slightly tempo-ish kind of shoe, And if I needed it for a long run, it could get the job done, but it would be of something I would not expect from the shoe, right? So that was my original theory, and I think at this point in time, that theory is sort of sticking. And this is always different for everybody because of options available, how you adapt to a shoe, the reliability of the product you bought. But I'm of the case right now that the Novablast 5 is, if we compare them to like easy run day shoes, let's say your easy run is like somewhere between 5 to 10 miles, right? And you're just trying to keep it conversational. You're on that group run with your friends or family or whatever, and you guys are just chit-chatting. I think the Vomero 18 feels like it would be a good, stable shoe for that kind of a workout, but I think the Asics Novablast 5 does a better job of that easy run, recovery run style effort. Mostly because the shoe is kind of light. It's not going to make you drag your foot nearly as much whenever you're running longer periods of time. The FF Blast Max foam stack is just super comfortable. It's got a lot of pop to it, a lot of rebound that you would be looking for out of a easy run style shoe. So you want to feel like you're putting in less effort into the shoe to get more of a response. I think the shoe is doing a good job in being efficient in that kind of sense. And the lockout isn't so bad, and it's a good piece, right? Now, when we go into the category of the long run, I'm going to lean higher on the Vomero 18, and here's why. Obviously, the Vomero, I think, is the shoe that's targeted and marketed for the easier effort long run because of what's built on the shoe. Yes, it looks clunky. It's got a lot of moving parts just because of the way it looks, especially if you looked at like the Vomero 16 and saw what of a spaceship kind of a shoe that looked like. When you look at this thing, you see there's a lot more going on, right? We have the 2 stacks of foam. We have the upper with a lot more breathability. We have some textile that's covering various pieces of the shoe to lock you down in certain areas. The way the shoe's locked down with the fly wire is also kind of super interesting. What's going on here is the shoe weighs a little bit more, so you don't explode too often while you're running in the middle of your run. It's a lot more stable. It keeps you very well supported while you're on that long run. And the principle here, which I've noticed with myself, is that the pace is going to remain consistent if you want it to. So when I was discussing in a previous video, when I was going on my 9.5 mile long run, don't make fun of me. I'm in the middle of a training plan here. The long run distance will get higher. The point there was I was able to keep it comfortably for the entire workout between 7:30 and 7:40 pace. And it was deemed conversational, even though Rana told me my conversational was supposed to be 8 to 10 per mile, right? So the shoe is doing the job that I'm asking it to do, which is be consistent, don't be too explosive, just remain supportive, and just let's get the job done. That's where the Vomero 18 was successful. Now, as we get into faster and faster workouts, if you're stuck between these two shoes, I'm much more of the case of leaning for the Novablast 5. And this is assuming your fast workout is not like a long run, right? And I'll talk about this now with the foam compound, right? Like the FF Blast Max foam is great, but there's a slight disadvantage. Well, there's two, if we want to be really specific. The first one I'm thinking of is that as the sole foam stack support, I'm of the case that the foam will fatigue a lot quicker than if you have 2 different stacks of foam playing against, or playing with each other, I guess, for your workout. So in this case, the foam is just going to fatigue in the same places, and then as it begins to wrinkle in those various areas, you'll start sinking more into the ground in those particular parts of the shoe where you're caving into the ground a lot more, and you're going to lose some of that oomph that you would be otherwise looking for. This happened in the Novablast 4 towards the end of life with that shoe, and is going to be slowly happening with the Novablast 5 as I get to that point. That's why this shoe is currently being used for all of my workouts under, I think, like 8 miles that are easy run workouts. And if I do have like a tempo session, I'll attempt to use the Novablast 5, but I have various other options like the Zoomfly 6 at my disposal, right? So this one has like a very particular niche in my workout of being the comfortable everyday racing or everyday daily trainer recovery kind of shoe. Whereas with the Vomero 18, this shoe is a little bit bulkier. It's a little bit heavier. I would not recommend it necessarily for your faster workouts. If you want to use it, go right ahead. I just think there are better options as the shoe does run a little bit heavy. It's about 10 ounces, okay? That 2 ounce difference between the Novablast 5 and the Vomero 18 makes a difference in your speed sessions, okay? You don't want to run with like a very stable brick for those workouts. You want to use the stable brick for a workout where you need some reliability and some endurance from the shoe. And with the use of the Zoom X, which is going to be your more poppy, more sinking style foam with the React X that's going to protect you from the ground elements, you're going to have a 2-in-1 compound that I think works very well for the shoe. And if it didn't work well, I don't think Nike would continue trying to use like the sandwich stack style foam, right? So I think that's where we're going to leave it at as it is. In terms of the Echelon, this is your slower, long run style shoe. This would be your everyday to recovery to like slightly tempo style shoe. So in terms of ranges of where I would recommend you use the shoe, I think the Novablast 5 has a lot more utility in the shorter term workouts, whereas the Vomero 18 has also kind of a similar range of where you can use it, but adding that long run, I guess, criteria to the shoe as like reliable in the long run is a very nice thing to consider if you're in a half marathon or marathon style training block and you need that type of shoe or that sort of support for that long-term workout. So I think I'll leave it at that. If you agree or disagree with the assessment, just let me know in the comments below. Again, these are just things I've experienced with the shoes that are near 250 miles and about 50 miles at the time of discussing both of these shoes. So I think we'll leave it at that. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.